Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to ask my spirit guides your questions. So you sent in some political questions that you really want the answers to, and I'm going to do my best to ask my spirit guides and answer them in real time. So I do not prepare for this. I don't have prepared messages for you. It can be a little messy sometimes with me talking to my guides, but that's part of the process, right? I'm burning some incense, so it's made my throat a little bit scratchy. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to say to you is if you're new here, welcome. There's a lot of new subscribers, so I really appreciate that. And if you're hanging out and not subscribing, please consider doing so. And I would like to say that the spirit guides are going to answer what they answer. I am not responsible for their answer. Their views don't always reflect my views. And as you may know, if you have complaints, call 1-800-SPIRIT-GUIDES, hit 1 for complaint. Now, some of you guys add hit 2 for blessings, and that is fine too. So, use your own phone tree. Options may have changed since your last call. So here we go, guys. We're going to start with Linda Walker. Linda Walker has a question, and her question is, in the next 5 years, will the federal government impose income taxes on churches who lobby for political favor? And she says, if not 5, can we get this in 10? The spirit guides are hung up on the word lobby. Apparently, you asked a very specific question. So the question is, will the U.S. federal government impose income taxes on churches who lobby for political favor? I don't know. They're really hung up on the word lobby. Like, do churches actually lobby, or do they just have an opinion, right? Do they just give guidance to their parishioners from the pulpit? Okay, so I'm not sure if they can actually lobby. I don't know that they actually have lobbyists. So a spirit is all hung up on this word. So anyway, I'm going to remove it. And I'm going to say, will the federal government impose income taxes on churches if they can be proven to have influenced, or, if they have overtly influenced people with a political message? I think that's how this bill would have to be written. I think it would very much give churches a black and white line. And here it is. Cross it. We're going to make you pay taxes. If you don't want to cross this line, then stay out of politics. So I think that's likely how the bill could be written. And I think that, yes, I can see this happening. Spirit can see this happening in 3 to 5 years, and potentially 3 years. We're getting ready to go through some big changes in our Constitution. We're getting ready to we have to address these challenges against our democracy. We have to go back and tighten some of these laws. So I think that in one of these, in the spirit of tightening these laws, you may see that come up earlier rather than later. And I think that we will have more of a democratic, I think this is a question you guys are asking too, that our House and Senate will probably have a majority for the Democrats to actually do some of these things should they choose to. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for your question. Winston Wonders asked, there is a nationwide teacher shortage already. Will continuing school safety issues significantly impact teachers leaving or entering the profession? And somebody replied, well, yes, we don't need a psychic to answer that question. I agree, Winston. I think it's a great question, to be honest with you. Listen, people this is their career. Will it influence them leaving and entering the profession? Yes. Will it encourage them to leave en masse? No. So I don't think the answer is so clear in that question, to be honest with you. I think that teachers, actually what I'm understanding is teachers are leaving in droves for other reasons. I mean, certainly that is one of those reasons. I mean, maybe if they have 5 reasons, that's definitely one of them, but it's not the only reason. They're actually leaving because they're not teaching anymore. They don't feel like they're teaching. They feel like they're being micromanaged. They feel like parents have more rights than they do. They of course, there's another answer, another reason is that they don't feel safe. There's many reasons. It's not just school safety. Some of the schools, when I'm going into this, a lot of the bigger schools, or not the bigger schools, but the schools in bigger cities are hardened more than, say, the school in Uvalde, which was a tiny little town in the middle of kind of, nowhere in a sense. Even though they received money to harden the school and they did do some things, it didn't work. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that some teachers feel safer than you would think in their school. They have ID, they have barcodes that they have to get into the rooms. Of course, this is an issue. It's an issue. But I think there's a lot of issues here. Now, going forward, I think the better question is, what are we going to do? Not only do we have a teacher shortage, and a teacher shortage that's growing for myriad reasons, as Spirit just pointed out, but we also have a nursing shortage that is unprecedented. We're about to have a doctor shortage. We have shortages of these service-oriented professionals that we, meaning society, have not backed up. We haven't helped them. We've only dumped our own societal problems on them, and we haven't given them any support. So, of course, with the doctors and the nurses, it would be the pandemic, and with the teachers, it's these other reasons that I already talked about. So, what I see happening is something that the Republicans don't want to happen. They're absolutely against it. As a matter of fact, the Republicans, their solution is to homeschool everybody or private school everybody. The Republicans, since Reagan, have wanted to privatize everything. They see every government dollar that is spent being a dollar that should be spent in the private sector. In other words, some sort of private company should be able to make that dollar. It shouldn't be government services providing government services. It shouldn't be a closed loop. Okay? So the reason this matters is the Republicans really want everything to go to charter schools or homeschooling. And you could see this pretty clearly. You don't need to be a psychic to see that either. But what's very interesting, Spirit is showing me, is because we are now at a crisis point. And Spirit is saying, truly, we're beyond a crisis point. The government has to step in. Now, Spirit already talked about this during the middle of the COVID, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. They talked about I saw these army tents and I saw National Guards giving vaccines. And that actually happened. So again, I'm seeing the government step in and Biden saying, we're going to re-energize our Teach for America program. We're going to re-energize some sort of, why are they giving me chills? Some sort of program for, what they're showing me now is people that get out of the military, they will give them, that have medical experience, in other words, nurses and doctors, they'll give them big bonuses to go to work in the hospitals. It is a very unusual, I don't understand. It's almost as if these people go into the National Guard. So perhaps they only work in the hospital under the guise of the National Guard on weekends. Or if they did that, Biden could then actually activate the National Guard. So then they wouldn't be on weekends, right? They would be activated and they would be full time. So Biden would actually have a force of professionals, mainly medical professionals, that he could then call to go to work at these hospitals. I mean, this is the government getting involved in solving the problem. And this is exactly what the Republicans don't want. But they are leaving us no choice. They're not voting on any bills. They don't have any ideas of how to fix the problem, except for that everybody should homeschool their kids, and that I don't even know if they've even proffered some kind of solution for our nursing shortage. So guess what? Biden is a problem solver, and he's going to solve this problem. So basically what I see is somehow the military being involved in helping the nursing shortage. And it could be active duty nurses. It could be guard nurses. It could be an additional monetary incentive. I'm not sure how that's going to look, but I do see that. I do see Biden getting involved with both of those things. With teachers, it's more teach for America. I'm also seeing, I don't know how this plays out, but I'm also seeing potentially people from students. These would be students that would be in college, okay? So students that are in college that are in junior colleges, and why this works is Biden says, I'm going to pay for your college, and I'm going to give you a big bonus, a big stipend, maybe $15,000. If you go teach in one of these areas, and they're going to be outlined, you go teach in one of these areas, and if you teach there for 5 years or 3 years or whatever it is, you're going to get this big cash bonus, $15,000. Okay, now, so what you're going to have is, and they're telling me this is kind of how Teach for America sort of worked, but I think it's become less supported through the Trump years and the Republican years. But he's going to energize it. And this is what I saw, and this is not sure how this is going to work, but he's really going to aim towards Hispanic, Latino people, Puerto Rican people. He's going to really, and minorities, basically minorities. Hey, if you're in community college and you can go ahead and get your teaching certificate, we're going to hook you up. And I mean, he's going to hook them up. So this is a win-win, in my opinion. I love this idea. So the beauty of it is that the Republicans, being jerks that they are actually going to bring more government into it when they really don't want that. So that is what's going to happen there, or what's likely to happen there. Of course, everybody has free will. There are many, many moving parts to these things, including time. So this is what is most likely right now in this time frame. Thank you for your question. Jen J says, thank you, Jen J, too. I appreciate that. Thank you for your question. Will Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer be reelected, and will Democrats win the House? Now, I also want to say that my opinion, or Spirit's opinion, can change. Okay, this is a long way out. I actually really, really felt strongly that Beto O'Rourke in Texas, who's running for governor, was not going to win all last year. You can see my videos. I just come right out and tell you he's not going to win. Now, the energy has completely shifted. It shifted about 2 months ago. And he very likely is going to win. I mean, I feel like he is going to win. So the energy can shift, you guys. It's based on a lot of people who have free will. So right now, as I'm looking at this, I do see Governor Whitmer winning, and I do see the Democrats winning the House. Thank you for your question. They just asked me another question. Gretchen, Governor Whitmer has been threatened quite a bit. She was threatened to be kidnapped. There's still concerns for her safety, okay? I don't see anything happening to her, but I see threats. I see credible, they're using the word credible threats. So everybody just needs to be careful right now. I mean, really extra careful. And I'm sorry that's the case, but that is the case right now. That is the case for this whole summer, and frankly, maybe for the next year. Okay, but definitely this summer. So sorry about that. Julie Guloff, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. She says she was recently in a position to directly speak to the Florida senators. Wow. All I can say is I nearly puked at their responses to some of the no-brainer questions. Her question is, did they even hear what was said? Will they act on any of it? And how is it possible that anyone could be against helping our veterans and military personnel? These guys are abhorrent. I agree, Julie. And the guides are showing me how I think it was Mitch McConnell who voted against the first responders bill to the responders that ran into the towers after 9/11. And these first responders were, having serious medical conditions due to the dust and the toxic contaminants that came from those buildings as they fell. And the Republicans voted against that many times. Now, if you can vote against somebody who's running into a building that's collapsing to save people, you're abhorrent. I agree. But the Spirit is telling me this to show you this isn't new. Okay? Apparently, I don't want to go off on a diatribe here because they do this. Americans have been asleep. Okay? And they're saying humans. Humans have been asleep. We have compartmentalized our lives to the degree that we feel ineffectual and we feel disempowered, unempowered. And so instead, we watch funny stuff, or we watch sports, or we watch celebrities. And meanwhile, Rome is burning. Okay, so this is how we got here. This is how we got here. But I will tell you this, Julie. They don't care. They just don't care. They have compartmentalized their soul, their heart to money is the most important thing. So, but I want to say briefly that the energy is changing, you guys. Regardless of why we were asleep or how we got to be asleep, there's a lot of reasons for that. The energy is changing. The pendulum is swung way far to the right. And now it's going to swing back and maybe overcorrect a little bit to the left. Now that is not going to happen this year. It is going to start swinging away from the right. And that's why these right-wingers are freaking out, because they sense it. The great replacement. They're talking about it. They sense the power is ebbing away from them. Now, it's not going to swing all the way to the left for a while, but it is correcting. I don't see us going any more to the right from where we are, which is a blessing. But they are going to fight it swinging even a little bit away from them. So I hope that makes sense. Because I'm channeling this, I don't even know what I just said. Okay, Nancy, thank you for your question. Will Senator Roland Gutierrez survive the wrath of the Texas Republicans and the gun lobby? And she says, can we hope he will be Beto's lieutenant governor? Thank you, Nancy. That's a great question. I got to tell you, this thing, and I think somebody asked a question about Uvalde shooting in Texas down below. This thing in Texas is big. It's a big, big deal. It is going to expose a lot of things. And I think that might be what you're hinting at by when you say, will Senator Roland Gutierrez survive the wrath of Texas Republicans and the gun lobby? Will he survive? Will he, let me change that question. Will he continue in his political? Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he will continue. Wow, when I go into his energy, he is some kind of mad. He is mad down to the fibers of his being. You think about being angry. It's usually kind of like it's just on the outside of your energy. He's mad all the way down here. He's mad enough to take chances. He doesn't care. He needs change. This man needs change, and he's willing to talk about or against anybody he needs to. Now, your second question is, that's a complicated thing. Because if he leaves to go to work for Beto, he could lose his seat. And then the Republicans... Guys, something you might not know is the Latino population is not Democratic. It's not. It's probably 50-50, if that. 50% Republican, 50% Democrats. You can't just assume that they're Democrats. You should not assume that. So if Roland moves out of that, then the Republicans could put somebody in his place. For that reason, Beto might not pull him for his lieutenant governor, to be honest with you. He might need to stay where he's at. That's too complicated. Their energy is not set yet, you guys. Beto has not decided who his lieutenant governor will be. It's very complicated. His thought process on this is very complicated. Okay, so I can't tell you if he's going to be Beto's lieutenant governor, but he's going to be fine. He really should relax a little bit. He's taken that anger a little too deep, and I'm kind of worried about his ticker. He needs some relaxation. He needs to offload some of that stress because he really is very, very, very upset. With good reason, but guys, we can't carry this anger in our body. That is not helpful. That's not going to help anybody. Okay? Please don't do that. Offload it. Push it out. It doesn't make you effective. Okay? I get it. I've struggled with it. I'm not saying it's easy. This thing in Uvalde really upset me. Along with Buffalo and all the other things. But Uvalde were babies. And that's like, whoa. Okay. Sorry. Patty G says, same question. Is Beto going to win the governor? I do believe he is. He is going to win the governor. They're telling me again. Yes. Okay. So, and I have 3 questions about Beto O'Rourke. And the next question was, and she's just rewording it a different way. Will Beto be sworn in as governor of Texas? Because Joe, Laurie understands that you have to ask questions of spirit very specifically, if you want the right answer. And yes, I do see him being sworn in. I can actually see the Bible. I can see his hand. I can see that he's wearing a dark suit. Yeah. Okay. Yes, thank you for your question. Liz says, this is a hard one. She says they never reported a motive for the Las Vegas shooter. What was it? Thank you, Liz, for your question. I think this is, when you go into what they're telling me anyway, there's like a psychological screening for these people. This feeling of being all powerful and always remembered. If there's 50 mass shooters and you're one of 50, I mean, what a list, right? You're not one of 7 million people. You're one of 50. So for him, it was this megalomania, this kind of, I'm big, I'm powerful. They're telling me there's a psychological, like a description of these people. And then he is this description. He felt like he was never respected. He wanted to show people that he was all big, mighty, powerful. You may be asking if there were other people behind him, like I've talked about kids being radicalized. I think he was radicalized to a degree, in this sense that they talked to these people about, how society's done you wrong and you everything, all your power's been taken away from you, all that stuff. I don't even want to say those words on out loud, to be honest with you. But that was his motive, was the same motive of some of these other shooters. It wasn't so much racial as it was power. I am more powerful than you. You're going to hear me now. You're going to know my name now. That kind of thing. The same reason we don't say their names. The same reason we ask media not to talk about them. Okay, thank you for your question. Anna Banana says, Gohmert. Okay, so this is Louis Gohmert, who's a Texas Republican, and he's the guy that I put on my community page. I gave a post where he's on a video saying, come on, Republicans can't even lie now. Now, I think what he was talking about was lying to Congress. It's a big deal because Congress, in the past, you could lie or do whatever or not even show up. And Congress never went after these people. They never subpoenaed them. They never arrested them. Well, now they're starting to do that. And so I think Gohmert was saying, we can't even lie now. We can't even lie to Congress or the FBI without getting in trouble. She says, how does this impact the energy surrounding the midterms? Well, first of all, Gohmert stepped down from his position to run for Texas Attorney General, and he didn't win. And Louis Gohmert matters to the whole United States because he voted in ways that really hurt the United States. I mean, he was really obnoxious. He's not just a nobody. He really is neck deep in some really bad votes. Okay. And she wants to know, how is this message about lying going to affect the energy surrounding the midterms? Well, it'll affect the midterms if the Democrats message, if the Democrats get out there and message about this, call them to their face, put it in front of people's faces over and over. Just play that on loop. If the Democrats do that, it's going to affect the midterms tremendously. I don't know if the Democrats are going to do that. Right now, we have like the Midas Touch, and we have other Lincoln Project. We have other groups doing that kind of stuff, but their reach is basically they're preaching to the choir, right? They're not on your local news channel. Let me ask. Oh my God, the Democrats are divided. So they just showed me Jan 6 committee really quickly. They're divided about how divisive they need to make all of this. So for instance, they're showing me the Jan 6 committee and how the Jan 6 committee's, I think, only televising 2 or 3 of their hearings. And people are like, why aren't they televising every single one of them? Right? So there's some division within the party about how much more division or divisiveness the message needs to be. So I'm not sure about that. Overall, the Democrats are going to do well in the midterms. And they're just telling me it is true that some of this super divisive messaging turns voters off. It turns the independents off. So I guess they do have some polling or some information about the independents. So that's good. That makes me feel better, actually. Francis Finn says, the Republicans are not budging on any limitations on the sale of semi-automatic weapons. Will their transigence on this issue sway enough voters to shift back to the Democrats in the fall, despite the overall disapproval of the economy? Yeah, you guys, look, when I'm telling you it's going to be different, this gun stuff is different, okay? Game over. I'm telling you, I told you this after the Uvalde shooting. I would have done a video after Buffalo, but my computer was down due to Mercury retrograde. But anyway, game over. Okay, right? You guys might not even know this, and I don't know all of the things that have happened, of which there have been many, but one thing I did see is a guy went out and bought an AR-15 the same day. He went to his doctor's office because his surgeon that did back surgery on him, he couldn't get relief from the pain. He even met with the surgeon. The surgeon did whatever they did, whatever was done. This guy thought it wasn't enough. He couldn't get relief from the pain. He went and bought an AR-15, and 2 hours later went into the doctor's office and killed people, including doctors. So if you think that our society is going to allow people to walk into doctor's offices and kill people, look, schools, I don't know why it's taken this long. I don't know why after Sandy Hook we didn't rise up like New Zealand did, like a lot of these countries, and stop it. I don't know why. I can't. I'm at a loss. But the energy has changed. I'm just telling you guys, the energy has changed. It's the straw that broke the camel's back. For whatever reason, one little straw is what's going to cause this thing to go down. You're going to see major gun laws come out of this. You're going to see major gun laws come out of this. Now, the Democrats are trying to play. We've all been convinced. We have Munchausen syndrome, right? We've all been convinced that we have no power. So the Democrats are trying to say, well, we'll just take background checks. We'll take this. We'll take that. If the Democrats would take it up, it would pass. I think a ban would pass. Now, we'll also tell you that companies are already working around a potential ban, because the ban, they can modify the guns to make it meet the ban, and then you can buy it's a moving target. It's very, very hard with these gun companies, right? So I think the next thing is we have to start suing the gun companies. And a smarter thing to do too would be to require these people to have insurance, to require them to have licenses, to require them to have, a 30-day wait before you buy. And there's so many other things that we can do. So, but it is going to start happening. And then the second part of your question was, will it sway enough voters to shift back to the Democrats in the fall despite the overall disapproval of the economy? It's not the economy's actually kicking butt. That's why we're having inflation. The problem is gas and inflation. I'm looking at this fall. We have some issues coming up. This fall around food shortages and not famine. We're never going to have famine in the United States. Okay, we're never going to have. I don't even know what that food they put in some of that fast food stuff is, but believe me, it's not food and they can produce that. So we'll all be able to get our tacos and our burgers, right? Regardless of what happens, they just said, regardless of what happens in the fall, as far as the economy goes, we're still going to pick up seats. Okay. We could pick up more, but I'm not sure we know how to act if we had real actual power, because we might have to actually do something. Okay, so later Gator Chris Zook says, since we found out that Navarro had a sealed indictment, do you think they have sealed indictments for especially Meadows, but for any of the others that didn't show up for the January 6th committee? Thank you for your question. There's a lot of questions. There's another question that Tina Pruitt has about Meadows. DOJ has announced no indictment for Mark Meadows regarding dissing the committee. Will there be charges against Meadows further down the line? Okay, I think there's another question floating around here somewhere about Scavino. Okay, so they just told me Mark Meadows is going down. Okay, that's what they just said. He's going down. So even though the DOJ might say we decline to prosecute this person or to even indict this person, there are so many other entities that are investigating this. And literally, there's a mastermind, and maybe it's Garland, and this is new. I have not seen this before. There's a mastermind who is looking at every potential charge. Okay, so let's say the state of Georgia has some charges. Let's say New York has some charges. Let's say the DOJ has some charges. So somebody is looking at each of these potential charges, and they're saying, you got a really strong case. You don't. You have a weak case. We're going over here. We're giving it to Georgia. We're giving it to New York. We're giving this one to the DOJ. So people get upset because the DOJ isn't doing anything, but they're actually assigning the cases to the right potential entity. So you have to understand that these people are experts at finding the loophole. It's the same way they're showing me that Republican or companies can go in front of the IRS and not pay any taxes. Now, how is that possible? I'm paying taxes. You're paying taxes. How come some of these companies are paying zero taxes? Zero. Okay? Because they know the loophole, because they can hire the smartest, brightest people and pay them handsomely, and the government can't. The government is not going to pay you the same as some Wall Street company, right? So it's the same thing. We have to be sure, and I mean, without a doubt, slam dunk, there's no way out of this kind of charge before we move forward. And frankly, sadly, and this is what I said when I talked in the beginning of the video, that we have to change our Constitution, we have to add amendments, we have to change our laws, because these laws that were written around treason and that kind of thing are just not very strong. I mean, you get more time if you have marijuana. So, that's all wrong. It's just like the 2A. It's just like the Second Amendment. It's wrong. It's for a muzzle loader. It's not for a gun that can shoot, 50 people in 3 seconds. That's not the same thing. We've got to go back and change some of these laws. So, but right now, we're dealing with what we've got. We're dealing with the hand that we've all been dealt. So here's Garland, like sitting here on his chair going, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And they're also telling me, this is all new information that I've not gotten before, and I've read on this before. Those 2 prosecutors that quit because of Braggs, who I still don't think is Braggs is the Attorney General, I think, in New York, or the DA. He was a problem. Okay, he is a problem and he was a problem. But those 2 prosecutors that quit also would have quit because Garland might have precluded them from bringing those charges against Trump. We all thought it was an injustice. But if you have to make sure that you're going to hit that bullseye, you can't take anything less. I'm not kidding. You can't take anything less. So that's what's happening here. That's why these things are looking the way they are. Hopefully that all made sense. Again, I don't really know what I just said. Okay, so Tina Pruitt, thank you for your question. She says, that was the same question she's asking about Meadows. Yes, there will be further charges down the line. Rosemary Jetty says, how do we counteract the lies that inflation is all Biden's fault? Thank you so much, Rosemary. I appreciate it. We aren't going to counteract those lies because we're just you and me. And Rosemary, I don't know about you, but I don't think I have that much pull. Biden is doing the best he can. I think that he's doing better than I thought he would. He got out of his box as a statesman or as a centrist. He's gotten out of the box all the way, and he's calling people thieves, liars, and whatever it is he needs to call them. I mean, he's not being boxed in anymore. Okay? So, he is trying to do a better job of messaging what's going right. Yeah, I wasn't even going to go there. They just showed me a bunch of stuff. Well, okay. I don't think this is relevant, what they're showing me, but anyway. I mean, it is, let me change that. It is relevant, but it's not relevant to your question. Okay, so they just showed me, I went into the energy of Biden. I went into the energy of Biden trying to message, trying to get the word out that he's doing everything he can. He certainly has addressed the gas prices. The man started the War Powers Act to get baby formula made. He shipped over 3 planefuls of baby formula. He's doing everything he can within his power. His power's limited, okay? People are always asking, why can't he just sign a special provision to ban guns. Well, no, it's in they're using the fight that it's in the Constitution, the amendment. So he can't just do that. But within his power, he's doing everything he can. Now, what they showed me was that, this summer, I've said it a bunch of times. Look, things are going to get dicey this summer. We have people that are armed. We have people that are not mentally stable. We have people that are racially motivated. And that's a cocktail for bad things to happen. We also have, we also have these companies, and I don't think this is a conspiracy theory at all. This is for real true. These companies do not want Biden to pass his billionaire tax. Okay? So they don't really want Democrats to win the House and the Senate. Because the minute that happens, they're going to be paying taxes that they've never paid. So a lot of these companies are, if not overtly slowing down shipments, they are not helping. They're not going over and above to get food and different things on the shelves. They're kind of slow walking. They're slow walking everything to kind of keep Biden, on the wrong foot. No kidding. It's not in their best interest, to be honest with you. And, there's only less than 5 companies that run everything that we do. So it doesn't take much to coordinate this effort. So going into this fall, why am I saying fall and winter? Gosh. Okay, this is way too much stuff for me to be doing. Okay, so when you say something, even any of us, and it's not, they always say, oh, Freudian slip. Well, how about that, right? It's your subconscious letting something come through. So fall and winter, what they just showed me was that even though we are going to win more seats and we are going to have a little bit more control, I think somebody said we need 6 wins to counteract the cinema in the mansion problem that we have. Even though we win those seats, there's still pressure on the economy and it's still sluggish. I don't understand. The economy is not sluggish. Biden has brought more jobs than any other president in any other time. Forget COVID. Forget it. We're on fire. But prices are high, so the jobs just aren't really making us feel like we won something. We don't really feel like we have any job we want because our prices are so high. It's cut into our living. It's cut into our daily living, but also any external spending or extra spending that we want to do. Going into the fall, I see there's problems. There's still problems. And so this is the reason this is to put pressure again on the Democrats so that they don't vote for this billionaire tax. So even though they have the votes, they're not going to feel empowered if the economy is still not where it's supposed to be. It's psychological. But this is how they're doing us. We keep falling for it, just like that guides always showed me last year, Charlie Brown with Lucy going to kick the football, and every time she picks the football up and he kicks it and falls on the ground, and that is the Democrats. Every time we believe the Republicans are going to come to their senses and be normal, they show us otherwise, right? And we fall on our butts. So I hope that all makes sense. I have no idea. Okay. Betty M says, who is calling the shots in Russia now that Putin is sick? Putin, right. So they all often show me Putin being in a room. He's in a room. This is an interesting visual. He's in a room and there's video screens. There's monitors. All the walls are monitors stacked on top of each other. Even the sky. The sky is monitors. The floor is monitors. Everything is monitors. So he can't leave the room. But he monitors everything by this video feeds. And the ones on the ceiling are the sky. Who's traveling? Is there a NATO plane nearby? Whatever. So the ones on the walls are, his citizens, the dissenters, the detractors, all the different countries, the companies, the oligarchs, everything. And the ones on the floor is the ocean. What ships are traveling back and forth? What grain ships are traveling? His money. He's making money, right? But what's interesting, and they alluded to this in the last video, what's interesting is that he thinks those are real. He thinks those are real. Those monitors are all real. He really does. But they're not. They're not real. Because if you tell this man the truth, you're going to die. I mean, that's been proven. He's killed how many people? He sent his generals to the front line with no support. And how many are dead now? 6, 8 generals are dead? Because they told him the truth. Or he found out the truth. But now, I feel like before he had a trusted source, and I think that is his illegitimate daughter. He has a daughter from this young dancer woman, and he has this daughter who's illegitimate, who he really particularly dotes on. And I think in the past, she gave him, there was information that could come into him that he could kind of spot check. Now, he couldn't check everything, but he could get like a newspaper and he could check some things. But now that source has been cut off. It hasn't been cut off. It's been co-opted. His daughter is now feeding him erroneous stuff. So anyway, the bottom line is this man is not getting the real information. They're showing him victories in Ukraine. They're showing him all this stuff. So who's running Russia while he's in this room? So in the past, I've read, understood that these oligarchs were not in favor of Putin because they had way more money before the war. I mean, their yachts have been taken away. Their villas have been taken away. Their travel has been taken away. They can't go to the United States. They can't go to Britain. They're living a very controlled, small life that is not one that they're used to. So in the past, I've read that the oligarchs were not supporting Putin. However, when I just asked this question, I said to them, who is supporting Putin? And they showed me an oligarch. Now, and then they showed me Crimea. And then they showed me this area along the southeast, Severodonetsk, however you say that, Donbass region in Ukraine. And the guides said from the very first Ukraine video, everything the guides said has happened. And here we are, exactly where the guide said we were going to be, with the contested part being along the border in the southeast, and specifically along the coast. So this oligarch needs that shipping port. Okay, so Mariupol is a shipping port. So is Odessa. But Mariupol is direct, like they could come right out of Russia into Mariupol and have the whole world open for shipping. It's a deal. It's a game changer. So this, because I asked them, well, if this oligarch is in charge, why does he care about Ukraine? Why doesn't he just pull out of Ukraine and start getting back on the road to getting the sanctions lifted so that he can get his money back? Well, apparently this seaport is worth more to him than any of that other stuff. Because with this seaport, that is a bargaining chip. he can now go to Europe and say, yeah, Ukraine can't get its grain out or whatever. You're going to have to, you're now going to have to deal with me. If you want Ukraine's grain or you want this or you want that, you're going to have to deal with me. I'm the gatekeeper. So that is the bargaining chip. So if you look at it from that respect, just pulling back from Ukraine doesn't give them any bargaining chip except for that they pulled back from Ukraine. And people are, countries are still going to want to punish them for many, many decades. But if they keep that part of Ukraine and they have a bargaining chip that causes pain, it's a pain point. You need this. Well, I'll let you have it, but you need to let me have this back. It's a bargaining chip. So it's just like the guide said from the first video of Ukraine. This area down here is I can't tell you that it's going to be Ukraine's. I know. 1-800 Spirit Guides. Press 1 for complaints. I've said this from the beginning. I don't want it. Zelensky doesn't want it. Zelensky will die trying to get it back. But there's really energy from back in February that suggests that Russia may take ownership of this part of Ukraine. Now, I can tell you that it doesn't stay Russians. It doesn't stay in Russia's control. But it does stay in their control for a few years. Okay? Now, I can't tell you at this point if Russia is really going to gain control of that in a way that would be quasi-permanent, because the Ukrainians fight and have the spirit of their country, their land, like, I can't predict it because they will die. They do not care about their own lives. Okay, so I can't tell you. When I look into it, I can see Ukraine taking back almost all the land. And then I see this bright red line right along the border. It's right along the border. There's a red line that I don't know that Ukraine's going to break. What was your question? Okay, so the oligarch is who's running Russia. And that's what the Spirit Guide said from the beginning, that the oligarchs would, okay, so one of the options they talked about was this hard right-wing general taking over for Putin. Now, I still think that could happen because this general is more about cracking down on the Russians, cracking down on any dissidents. And he's going to. I mean, he's going to be bad. He's going to be like China bad, okay? But I also see him moving on. And I see eventually Russia becoming kind of a social democratic country. So it's a horrible right now. It's really at a point. But that is going to eventually kind of release. But it's going to take a few years. I hope that all made sense. Okay. Bridget says, thank you for your question. Really appreciate it. And Bridget, thank you for your question. She says, Floridians are having a housing crisis. People who have lived here their whole lives can't afford to live here. Will this be addressed by the government of Florida? I'm trying not to laugh. I mean, because your question is serious, and I know it's serious. But we have a housing crisis in California. There's a lot of housing crises going on. Let me talk about Florida. I don't have good news for you, Bridget. I don't have good news for you. Florida particularly is a dark spot for me when I look at the map of the United States energetically. And I'm talking from a person who lives in Texas, so you should really understand. Florida is dark right now. It's in bad shape. And it's dark because of the political energy there, and probably because Trump is there. What am I saying? I don't see it happening anytime soon. I'm sorry to say this, Bridget. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. There is so much that has to happen. It's not an easy... These things are not like, okay, we fixed it. We're talking about removing people at multiple levels of government. We're talking about people that are co-opted or corrupted. it's going to take a while to clean all of that out. And then also they're talking about a lot of environmental concerns. So if you were to add more affordable housing, then you've got where you're going to build it. And how do you build it to the new codes for hurricanes? How do you build it so that it doesn't add more problems to the environmental issues that Florida has? I don't see any problem. I don't see any solutions. Now, the only solution I could see would be, this isn't really a solution, but there did show me a storm hitting some part of Florida and people being able to buy houses. You know, it's some period after a storm. Some people are selling their houses for cheap. But in my experience, living near the coast, those storms don't affect the housing market. You would think that a big storm comes and wipes out a whole community, that community would not go up in value, but it does. It's just crazy. It's counterintuitive to me. But that's what I have to say, and I'm so sorry, Bridget. I don't know what else to say to you about that. I honestly don't. If you know me, you understand that I'm a problem solver, and I like to help people solve problems, and I don't have a way for you to solve your problem except for to move out of Florida, and I know you don't want to hear that, and I'm so sorry. Okay, L. Vigil says, you're welcome. She says, thanks for offering these videos. Will you please ask about Kim Jong-un? There have been some questions as to whether he's in a coma or dead, and maybe there's a body double. Yes, I agree. There is a body double. There's a body double for a lot of people, honestly. For Melania, for Putin. There's a lot of body doubles out there. It's not safe. If you guys haven't caught on yet, there's too many people with guns. It's not safe for people to run around. Even if in China or North Korea or Russia, where people don't have guns, you have enemies. Okay. So, now Kim Jong-un, I do believe, is in some kind of altered state. Again, he's not in a room like Putin that has all these monitors, because to be honest with you, Kim Jong-un doesn't care. He doesn't care about what's happening in his country, but it's like they've gotten him addicted to something. And he just sits in a room like heroin, but it's not heroin, opium. It feels like it looks and seems like opium, like they've got him addicted to something, and they just continue to feed his addiction and feed him with food. And they've sequestered him. Ever so often, I see him that they do put him in front of people, like on the balcony with all these people down below. But it's not. It's like if Kim Jong-un makes 5 of those balcony appearances, one of them is really him. They just do it enough because he starts asking questions. But otherwise, he's not running that country. His sister is running that country. His sister and a coalition is what they're talking about, a group of people. I hope that makes sense. Jules Ever After says, okay, Jules says, they want to know is... when are we going to be out of this mess? That basically what they're asking is, when are we going to be out of this mess? Their heart and mind simply can't handle anymore. We have a lot to deal with this summer. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be hard. And if you're struggling, what I would suggest you do is disconnect for your own mental health and for the mental health of those around you that depend on you. There is no shame in disconnecting. If you go vote, that's all that we really care about. And the guides are always saying, take one action and then disconnect. Take one action and then disconnect. So you can tell yourself, I did all I could do. I did something. And now I'm going to disconnect. And that is okay. That is perfect. You can donate. You can write postcards. You can do text. You can say a prayer. All of those things count towards doing something. And all of those things will change the energy. If we all of us, put our intention that America has no more AR-15s, that there's real gun control here. If we all intentioned that, it would happen. Didn't cost you anything. All you did was think it. So please take care of yourself. It has been particularly hard on me. It has been particularly hard on me. On one hand, I dive into the news. I want to know. On the other hand, my guides are screaming at me to stop doing it because what is that? How does it help? Other than if you can, forewarned is forearmed. If you can expect for it to be a dicey summer, then perhaps what you can do is say, you know what? The guides said it's going to be a really tough summer. I'm going to take up a hobby. And I'm going to dive in. And just get really involved. Or I'm going to start a whole new series on Netflix. I'm going to start a whole new series of books. I'm going to take some classes. Distract yourself. While you're distracting yourself, you're keeping your vibration high. When all of our vibrations are higher, we're sending more light out into the universe. When we all send more light out into the universe, these scoundrels just don't have as much power. So it's actually a good thing. It's one of the best things we can do, is to keep our light as strong and bright as possible. The best thing you can do is to keep your light as strong and bright as possible. So go and protest and then disengage. Make those phone calls. Disconnect. Cut the cords. I literally have to cut cords from the energy around me and watch them recoil, being retracted like the cord on your vacuum cleaner. Zoop. There it goes. Not mine. Not mine. Ukraine, my heart goes out to you. Not mine. I can't allow that to pull me under the water. Because once I'm under the water, I'm ineffectual. I'm not doing anything. I'm adding stress and illness to my body. And my light is dimmed. So that's not helping. That's not helping Ukraine. That's not helping Uvalde. That's not helping anybody. Now, I want you to understand that the things that you've been through will likely trigger PTSD. How many of us walk past a little elementary school and feel sad? How do teachers go back to school? How do students go back to school? This is real. This is real. So I don't want to invalidate that for you because it's real. Get help. Get a therapist. Talk it out. Talk it out to friends. Don't retreat. Don't lock yourself away from people. If you're not surrounded by people who understand you or support you, get new people. Go find them. Get a therapist. Find someone who understands what you're going through. But find a person who doesn't just say, yeah, everything is bleak. We're all screwed. It's over. It's terrible. that person's not going to help you. They're showing me a well. You have fallen into the bottom of a well. That person who says you're screwed just jumped in the well with you. You need the positive person who's going to say, oh my gosh, you've fallen into a well. I'm so sorry. That's terrible. That must feel really horrible. Don't worry. I'm going to send help, or I'm going to help you. They're not responsible for saving you, but they're responsible for helping you. So they throw the ladder down to help you get out. Find those people. Distract yourself. Distract yourself. Distract yourself. Do one thing. One thing. If that's all you can do. If all you can do is one thing. Listen to a happy song. Watch a happy show. Watch a comedy. Read a suspenseful book. Take a walk in Mother Nature. Hug a tree. Pet your pets. Play with your pets. Play with your grandkids. Kids and pets are great at keeping us in the now, because they live in the now. If you can only do one thing, do one thing. Don't try to fix it all. That's how we get overwhelmed. That's how we fall in the well. Trying to fix everything. You can't fix maybe your relationship. You can't fix maybe your city. You can't fix the housing prices. You can't fix your job. Okay, I can't fix that stuff. So instead of being depressed and thinking, well, it's all screwed, I want you to say, what's one thing I can do? What's one little thing I can do right now? What's one thing? I'm going to listen to a funny song. I'm going to listen to a happy song. I'm going to listen to a song that makes me happy. I'm going to watch a rerun of something that makes me laugh. One thing, people. You only need to do one. And then the next day, do it again. And then the next day, do two things. Little bitty steps. Little bitty steps. I hope this has been helpful for you again. Watch for part 2. I didn't get very far in the questions. There's lots of really good questions you guys asked coming up about the January 6th, about Zelensky, Belarus and Lukashenko, about lots of politics. You guys really asked some great questions. Louisiana politics, UK politics, all kinds of questions. All that's going to be covered in part 2. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope this video was helpful for you. That's why I do them. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I really try to answer your questions. So send them to me. Post your comments. And if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing the video. And also, FYI, I have a Patreon group, a membership group where we do classes and we do Zoom meetings, and I do special videos for you guys over there. You can find that information down in the description below as well if you're interested. It's mostly spiritual, but I have a feeling that this summer, with things that are going on, it will have some more political things as well. So there's some resources for you as well. Thanks again for joining me. You guys take really good care. We'll talk soon. For entertainment purposes only.